I spent 2 years launching tiny projects. Ben Stokes. May 18, 2022. 2 years ago. Frustrated with a long list of unfulfilled project ideas in my phone notes, I decided to start trying one idea each week in its tiniest form. I never kept to a weekly schedule, but I've kept plodding along since then and launched 8 things. Each morning, I sit down with a coffee and bash out some project code. It's a hobby I love, and one that is starting to generate some decent passive income. Now, in this post, I want to update you on everything I've launched and share what I've learned about building lots of these tiny internet projects. Let's go back to the start. Tiny website. The first project I made is this blog you're reading right now. The purpose of the blog was to simply document all the other projects I'd make. I launched it the day after I turned 25. And the very first post I wrote, "Tiny websites are great," went semi-viral, which was very lucky and spurred me to keep going. Not much has changed here since then. I've written 17 blog posts. And, of course, there's now dark mode. Objectively looking at page views, this is the most successful thing I've ever created. Launched May 2020. Page views 840,000. Revenue 0. Silicon Valley domain names. 1 week after launching this blog, I thought it would be a brilliant idea to buy domain names from several FANG, Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google companies. This wasn't really a project, but I'd always been interested in domains. And the blog post I wrote, "I bought Netflix.soy," again, went semi-viral. I still own Netflix.soy, with Netflix stock tanking. Maybe it'll be worth more one day. Launched May 2020. Facebook cease and desists 1. Revenue 0. 8-bit battle royale. The next project I made was a tiny 8-bit battle royale game for Android. This was so fun to build, but ended up being my least successful project. I launched it to crickets, which was gutting after the success of the last blog posts. Sadly, I lost the code for the game when I switched laptops. It's still live, but very buggy. This didn't stop someone streaming it on Twitch last month though. Launched June 2020. Downloads 183. Revenue 0. 1 item store. Next up, I built a micro online store builder to sell a single product on repeat. Just imagine a tiny Shopify. I cobbled this project together in 2 weeks and launched it on Product Hunt. Amazingly, people started selling real things on there, netting me a mighty £1.63 in 1% of transaction fees. Although this wasn't even enough for a Tesco meal deal, it was my first taste of internet money, and boy did it taste good. Amazingly, a few months after launching one item store, I was approached by someone looking to buy it. I ended up selling for $5,000, which blew my tiny mind. Launched June 2020. Page views 28,000. Revenue £1.63. Normal. After conquering the e-commerce world, building a social network was the obvious next step. In a few weeks, I launched Snormal, a social network for people to post every day normal things. Like, I just ate a baguette. In hindsight, this does not make an exciting social network that people want to visit, and the website is kind of dead. I've abandoned this project, but it still has a few daily users. Launched August 2020. Page views 9,800. Revenue 0. Early name. I sign up to a lot of new products to snag a rare handle. For example, at Ben, my next project turned this into a business. Each month, I'd send out a newsletter with 4 new social networks and let you know if your username was available on them for an optional $10 month. I'd actually register the usernames for you after a 1-month build. I launched Early Name on Product Hunt, and surprisingly, got a few paying customers. For 6 months, I sent out newsletters, growing Early Name to $350 month in revenue, but ultimately decided I didn't enjoy running it. Having already sold 1 project, I confidently listed Early Name on MicroAcquire and sold it for $10,500. Launched October 2020. Page views 10,000. Revenue $4,200. Year. Mayalogi. One day, I found you could use emoji domains in email addresses. Realizing there were many .kz emoji domains available, I decided it would be a great idea to buy 300 Kazakhstan emoji domains and launch an emoji email address service. 1 month after launching, I had 150 customers, but I'd actually made a loss from the domain name costs. Like all these projects, I wrote up a blog post about it and put it on Hacker News. The post did nothing for 30 minutes. Then absolutely skyrocketed. I sold $9,000 in subscriptions over a weekend, the most I've ever made in such a short period of time. Mayalogi is still going strong, and now has 700 emoji domains. I collect them like Pokemon. Recently I caught GG. You can now also have full emoji email addresses like @FM. Launched March 2021. Page views 129,000. Total revenue $18,500. Paper website. I really enjoy writing using pen and paper, and wanted to start a daily blog. Over a few weeks, I built a prototype app that let you snap a picture of a handwritten page and turn it into a website. After enjoying writing a few paper blog posts, I decided to turn this prototype into a full-blown service called Paper Website. I bought 100 notebooks to give out to initial customers and braced for launch. Fortunately, it went well. Over 200 people have built a paper website and I only have a few notebooks left in my kitchen. My daily blog runs on paper website, and I've handwritten, well, over 100 paper blog posts without getting a paper cut. Launched November 2021. Page views 69,000. Revenue $9,370. Year. Pros of tiny projects. Rapidly launching. Lots of tiny projects is so much fun. This is the main reason I do it. However, with each launch, I'm slowly learning what makes a project successful. After 8 launches, I'm starting to see some patterns. I've also discovered what micro businesses I like to run. I don't enjoy newsletters, but love quirky technical projects that generate passive income. I would never have known this launching just one thing. The best thing about tiny projects is they're so small. The stakes are incredibly low. There's zero pressure. If something fails, you just move on guilt-free and try again. Another random benefit is my developer skills have advanced over the 2 years of building these projects. I was decent before, but I'm on a different level now. Cons of tiny projects. A big debate is whether you should launch lots of things or focus on just one. I personally enjoy the micro-bet approach, but I often wonder if I gave all my attention to one project, I could see better financial success. At the moment, I have 3 active projects that run on autopilot. Time management and context switching has been okay, but with 5+ active projects, it might get hard. One other weird downside is that as I've grown an audience building these projects, I sometimes catch myself thinking, should I build something just for the upvotes? It's tempting, because I know I could, and it would probably work. But I think this is a surefire way to burn out fast. Conclusions and the future. When I started this mission, I had a big list of project ideas that I'd built up in my phone. Maybe you have one of those lists too. 2 years later, I've realized a lot of these initial ideas were pretty terrible. It's a paradox, but I've found that my best ideas now come from building other ideas. I would never have thought of an emoji email address service going about my day-to-day if I hadn't decided to stupidly experiment with domains and buy Netflix.soy. If you're stuck for ideas, I recommend just building something. Anything. Even if it's terrible, and I guarantee a better idea will pop into your brain shortly after. Each project I build now uses a spark of an idea from the previous. It's like a monkey swinging vine to vine, except the vines are projects. And I'm just a dumb monkey. I want to keep building tiny projects for decades. And I'm excited to see what ideas come next. Now, on to the next project.